Hare Krishna, my dear devotees. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books, right here in the live studios in Hythe, Kent, Southeast England, just near the English Channel. And you'll forgive my voice today. It's been a very busy, hectic day, all day. Somehow or other I lost my voice during that time. But I've been told by my trusty servant that it's good enough. And also I couldn't tolerate any more separations. So here I am. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Mahima Stotram by Srila Sanatana Goswami goes like this. Sarva Sastrabdi Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaja Sarvalokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Purāṇa Śrīmad-Bhāgavata Prabho Kalidwandoditaditya Shri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Savasevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin Madguro Man Mahadana Man Nistadaka Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu saduta dayin adinicho chatakada hanamun chigadachin mam premna rit kantayokspura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, we've reached the third chapter of the second canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and we're starting from text 20. Is this pure devotional service? I think so.
I had it marked on chapter 4, text 1.
Oh, you know what? You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Sorry, my fact checker has done it again. My program did not save it properly. Yes. We finished that chapter. Remember, you said it was the last? Yes. But it didn't save it. Yes. We've reached the fourth chapter of the second canto. the process of creation. Text 1. Sutta Goswami is speaking. Sutta Goswami said, Maharaj Parikshit, the son of Uttara, after hearing the speeches of Shukadev Goswami, which were all about the truth of the self, applied his concentration faithfully upon Lord Krishna. Purport. The word satim is very significant. This means existing and chaste, and both imports are perfectly applicable in the case of Maharaj Parikshit. The whole Vedic adventure is to draw one's attention entirely unto the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, without any diversion, as instructed in the Bhagavad Gita 15:15. Fortunately, Maharaj Parikshit had also been attracted to the Lord from the very beginning of his body, in the womb of his mother. In the womb of his mother, he was struck by the Brahmastra atomic bomb released by Ashwatthama. But by the grace of the Lord, he was saved from being burnt by the fiery weapon. And since then, the king continuously concentrated his mind upon Lord Krishna, which made him perfectly chaste in devotional service. So by natural sequence, he was a chaste devotee of the Lord. And when he further heard from Srila Shukadev Goswami that one should worship the Lord only and no one else, even though full of all desires or desireless, his natural affection for Krishna was strengthened. We have already discussed these topics. To become a pure devotee of Lord Krishna, two things are very much essential. Namely, having a chance to be born in the family of a devotee, and having the blessings of a bona fide spiritual master. By the grace of Lord Krishna, Parikshit Maharaj had both opportunities. He was born in a family of such devotees as the Pandavas, and just to continue the dynasty of the Pandavas and to show them special favor, the Lord specifically saved Maharaj Parikshit, who later on, by the arrangement of the Lord, was cursed by the boy of a Brahmana and was able to get the association of a spiritual master as Shukadev Goswami. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that a fortunate person, by the mercy of the spiritual master and Lord Krishna, achieves the path of devotional service. This was perfectly applicable in the case of Maharaj Parikshit. By way of being born in a family of devotees, he automatically came in touch with Krishna, and after being so contacted, he constantly remembered him. Consequently, Lord Krishna gave the king a further chance for development in devotional service by introducing him to Shukadev Goswami, a stalwart devotee of the Lord with perfect knowledge in self-realization. And by hearing from a bona fide spiritual master, he was perfectly able to concentrate his chaste mind further upon Lord Krishna as a matter of course. Text 2. Maharaj Parikshit, as a result of his wholehearted attraction for Lord Krishna, was able to give up all deep-rooted affection for his personal body, his wife, his children, his palace, his animals like horses and elephants, his treasury house, his friends and relatives, and his undisputed kingdom. Purport. To become liberated means to become free from dehatma buddhi, the illusory attachment for personal bodily coverings, and everything connected with the body, namely wife, children, and all other entanglements. One selects a wife for bodily comforts, and the result is children. For wife and children, one requires a dwelling place, and as such, a residential house is also necessary. Animals like horses, elephants, cows, and dogs are all household animals, and a householder has to keep them as household paraphernalia. In the modern civilization, the horses and elephants have been replaced by cars and conveyances with considerable horsepower. To maintain all the household affairs, one has to increase the bank balance and be careful about the treasury house. And in order to display the opulence of material assets, one has to keep good relations with friends and relatives, as well as become very careful about maintaining the status quo. This is called the material civilization of material attachment. Devotion for Lord Krishna means negation of all material attachments as detailed above. By the grace of Lord Krishna, Maharaj Parikshit was awarded all material amenities and an undisputed kingdom in which to enjoy the undisturbed position of king. But by the grace of the Lord, he was able to give up all connections with material attachment. That is the position of a pure devotee. Maharaj Parikshit, due to his natural affection for Lord Krishna as a devotee of the Lord, was always executing his royal duties on behalf of the Lord. And as a responsible king of the world, he was always careful to see that the influence of Kali would not enter his kingdom. A devotee of the Lord never thinks of his household paraphernalia as his own, but surrenders everything for the service of the Lord. Thereby, living entities under a devotee's care get the opportunity for God realization by the management of a devotee master. Attachment for household paraphernalia and for Lord Krishna go poorly together. One attachment is the path of darkness, and the other attachment is the path of light. Where there is light, there is no darkness, and where there is darkness, there is no light. But an expert devotee can turn everything to the path of light by an attitude of service to the Lord. And the best example here is the Pandavas. Maharaj Yudhishthira and householders like him can turn everything to light by dovetailing so-called material assets in the service of the Lord. But one who is not trained or is unable to turn everything to the service of the Lord, Nirbandhak Krishna Sambandhe, must give up all material connections before he can be fit to hear and chant the glories of the Lord. In other words, one who, like Maharaj Parikshit, has seriously heard Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam for even one day from a fit personality like Shukadev Goswami, may be able to lose all affinity for material things. There is no utility simply in imitating Maharaj Parikshit and hearing Bhāgavatam from professional men as a means of maintaining family expenditure. To take There is no utility simply in imitating Maharaj Parikshit and hearing Bhāgavatam from professional men even for 700 years. To take Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam as a means of maintaining family expenditure is the grossest type of namaparad, offense, at the feet of the Lord. Sarva Shubha Kriya Samyam Api Pramadaha. Text 3 and 4. O great sages, the great soul, Maharaj Parikshit, constantly wrapped in thought of Lord Krishna, knowing well of his imminent death, renounced all sorts of fruitive activities, namely acts of religion, economic development, and sense gratification, and thus fixed himself firmly in his natural love for Krishna and asked all these questions exactly as you are asking me. Purport. The three activities of religion, economic development, and sense gratification are generally attractive for conditioned souls struggling for existence in the material world. Such regulated activities prescribed in the Vedas are called the karma khandiya, conception of life, and householders are generally recommended to follow the rules just to enjoy material prosperity both in this life and in the next. Most people are attracted to such activities. Most people are attracted by such activities, though in the modern godless civilization, people are more concerned with economic development and sense gratification without any religious sentiments. As a great emperor of the world, Maharaj Parikshit had to observe such regulations of the Vedic Karma Khandiya section, but by his slight association with Shukadev Goswami, he could perfectly understand that Lord Sri Krishna, the absolute personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, for whom he had a natural love since his birth, is everything. And thus he fixed his mind firmly upon him, renouncing all modes of Vedic Karmakandya activities. This perfectional stage is attained by a jnani after many, many births. The jnanis, or empiric philosophers, endeavoring for liberation, are thousands of times better than the fruitive workers, and out of hundreds of thousands of such jnanis, one is liberated factually. And out of hundreds of thousands of such liberated persons, even one person is rarely found who can firmly fix his mind unto the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, as declared by the Lord himself in the Bhagavad Gita 7:19. Maharaj Parikshit is specially qualified with the word Maha Manaha, which puts him on an equal level with the Mahatmas described in the Bhagavad Gita. In the later age also, there have been many Mahatmas of this type, and they also gave up all Karmakandya conceptions of life, solely and wholly depending on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Lord Chaitanya, who is Lord Krishna himself, taught us in his Shikshastaka 8, Ashlishyava Paradatang Pinashtumam Adarshanan Marmahatam Karotiva Yata Tata Va Vidadatu Lampato Mat Prananatas Tusaeva Napadaha. Lord Krishna, who is the lover of many devotees, women, may embrace this fully surrendered maidservant, or may trample me with his feet, or he may render me broken-hearted by not being present before me for a long duration of time, but still he is nothing less than the absolute Lord of my heart. Srila Rupa Goswami spoke thus: Pirachamai dandam dinabando dayamba gatir ihana babatak kachchedanya mamasti nipatutu nipatu shatakutir nirmalam va navambas tadapikila payoda stuyate chatakena. O Lord of the poor, do what you like with me. Give me either mercy or punishment. But in this world, I have none to look to except your lordship. The Chataka bird always prays for the cloud, regardless of whether it showers rain or throws a thunderbolt. Srila Madhavendra Puri, the Grand Spiritual Master of Lord Chaitanya, took leave of all karmakandiya obligations in the following words. O my evening prayer, all good unto you. O my morning bath, I bid you goodbye. O demigods and forefathers, please excuse me. I am unable to perform any more offerings for your pleasure. Now I have decided to free myself from all reactions to sins simply by remembering anywhere and everywhere the great descendant of Yadu and the great enemy of Kamsa, Lord Krishna. I think that this is sufficient for me, so what is the use of further endeavors? Srila Madhavendra Puri said further, let the sharp moralist accuse me of being illusioned. I do not mind. Experts in Vedic activities may slander me as being misled. Friends and relatives may call me frustrated. My brothers may call me a fool. And wealthy Mammonites may point me out as mad. And the learned philosophers may assert that I am too much proud. Still, my mind does not budge an inch from the determination to serve the lotus feet of Govinda, though I be unable to do it. And also, Prahlad Maharaj said, religion, economic development, and sense gratification are celebrated as three means of attaining the path of salvation, iksha, trayi, and so on. That is, knowledge of the self, knowledge of fruitive acts and logic, and knowledge of politics and economics are different means of livelihood. All these are different subjects of Vedic education, and therefore I consider them temporary engagements. On the other hand, surrendering unto the Supreme Lord Vishnu is a factual gain in life, and I consider it the ultimate truth. Bhagavatam 7:6-26. The whole matter is concluded in the Bhagavad Gita 2:41 as Vyavasayatmika Buddhi, or the absolute path of perfection. Sri Baladev Vidyabhushana, a great Vaishnava scholar, defines this as Bhagavad Archana Rupaika Nishkama Karmabir Vishuddha Chittaha, accepting transcendental loving service to the Lord as the prime duty, free from fruitive reaction. So Maharaj Parikshit was perfectly right when he firmly accepted the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, renouncing all karma kandiya conceptions of life. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Probably could have used them. mango tonight. Okay, text 5. Maharaj Parikshit said, O learned Brahmana, you know everything because you are without material contamination. Therefore, whatever you have spoken to me appears perfectly right. Your speeches are gradually destroying the darkness of my ignorance, for you are narrating the topics of the Lord. Purport. The practical experience of Maharaj Parikshit is disclosed herein, revealing that transcendental topics of the Lord act like injections when received by the sincere devotee from a person who is perfectly uncontaminated by material tinges. In other words, reception of the messages of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam from professional men heard by a Karmakandiya audience never acts miraculously as stated here. Devotional hearing of the messages of the Lord is not like hearing ordinary topics. Therefore, the action will be felt by the sincere hearer by experience of the gradual disappearance of ignorance. Yasya Devi Para Bhaktir Yata Devi Tata Guru Tasyai Te Katita Yarta Prakashante Mahatmanaha. Shritashvatara Upanishad 6:23. When a hungry man is given food to eat, he feels satiation of hunger and the pleasure of dining simultaneously. Thus, he does not have to ask whether he has actually been fed or not. The crucial test of hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is that one should get positive enlightenment by such an act. Shall I repeat that again? The crucial test of hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is that one should get positive enlightenment by such an act. Or in other words, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Text 6. I beg to know from you how the personality of Godhead, by his personal energies, creates these phenomenal universes as they are, which is inconceivable even to the great demigods. Purport. In every inquisitive mind, the important question of the creation of the phenomenal world arises. And therefore, for a personality like Maharaj Parikshit, who was to know all the activities of the Lord from his spiritual master, such an inquiry is not uncommon. For every unknown thing, we have to learn and inquire from a learned personality. The question of creation is also one of such inquiries to be made to the right person. The spiritual master, therefore, must be one who is Sarvagya, as stated herein before in connection with Shukadev Goswami. Thus, all inquiries on God, which are unknown to the disciple, may be made from the qualified spiritual master. And here, the practical example is set by Maharaj Parikshit. It was, however, already known to Maharaj Parikshit that everything we see is born out of the energy of the Lord. And we have all learned in the very beginning of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Janmad Yasya Yataha. So Maharaj Parikshit wanted to know the process of creation. The origin of creation was known to him. Otherwise, he would not have inquired how the personality of Godhead, by his different energies, creates this phenomenal world. The common man also knows that the creation is made by some creator and is not created automatically. We have no experience in the practical world that a thing is created automatically. Foolish people say that the creative energy is independent and acts automatically as electrical energy works. But the intelligent man knows that even the electrical energy is generated by an expert engineer in the localized powerhouse, and thus the energy is distributed everywhere under the resident engineer's supervision. The Lord's supervision in connection with creation is also mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita 9:10, and it is clearly said there that material energy is a manifestation of one of many such energies of the Supreme. Parasya Shaktir Vividaiva Shuyate. An inexperienced boy may be struck with wonder by seeing the impersonal actions of electronics or many other wonderful things conducted by electrical energy. But an experienced man knows that behind the action is a living man who creates such energy. Similarly, the so-called scholars and philosophers of the world may, by mental speculation, present so many utopian theories about the impersonal creation of the universe. But an intelligent devotee of the Lord, by studying the Bhagavad Gita, can know that behind the creation is the hand of the Supreme Lord. Just as in the generating electrical powerhouse, there is the resident engineer. The research scholar finds out the cause and the effect of everything. But research scholars, as great as Brahma, Shiva, Indra, and many other demigods, are sometimes bewildered by seeing the wonderful creative energy of the Lord. So what to speak of the tiny mundane scholars dealing in petty things? As there are differences in the living conditions of different planets of the universe, and as one planet is superior to others, the brains of the living entities in those respective planets are also of different categorical values. From the Bhagavad Gita, one can understand that the long duration of life of the inhabitants of Brahma's planet is inconceivable to the inhabitants of this planet Earth. Similarly, the categorical value of the brain of Brahmaji is also inconceivable to any great scientist of this planet. Yet even with such high brain power, Brahmaji considers the brain of the Supreme Lord inconceivable. Among the powerful demigods in charge of the management of the universal affairs, Brahmaji and Shivaji are called Ishvara or Adishvara. Still, Brahmaji has described Lord Krishna as the supreme Ishvara in his great Samhita as follows: Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachit Ananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. There are many personalities possessing the qualities of Bhagavan, but Krishna is the supreme because none can excel him. He is the supreme person, and his body is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. He is the primeval Lord Govinda and the cause of all causes. Brahmaji admits Lord Krishna to be the supreme cause of all causes. But persons with tiny brains within this petty planet earth. Think of the Lord as one of them. Thus, when the Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita that He, Lord Krishna, is all in all, the speculative philosophers and the mundane wranglers deride Him. And the Lord regretfully says, Abhajananti mam mudha manushim tunamashritam param bhavamajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that be. Brahma and Shiva, and what to speak of other demigods, are bhutas, or powerful, created demigods who manage universal affairs, much like ministers appointed by a king. The ministers may be Ishwaras, or controllers, but the Supreme Lord is Maheshwara, or the creator of the controllers. Persons with a poor fund of knowledge do not know this, and therefore they have the audacity to deride Him, because by His causeless mercy He occasionally comes before us in the form of a human being. But the Lord is not like a human being. He is Satchidananda Vigraha, or the absolute personality of Godhead, and there is no difference between His body and His soul. He is both the power and the powerful. Maharaj Parikshit did not ask his spiritual master, Shukadeva Goswami, to narrate Lord Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. He wanted to hear first about the Lord's creation. Shukadeva Goswami did not say that the king should hear about the direct transcendental pastimes of the Lord. The time was very short, and naturally, Shukadeva Goswami could have gone directly to the 10th canto to make a shortcut of the whole thing, as generally done by the professional reciters. But neither the king nor the great speaker of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam jumped forward like the organizers of week-long Bhagavatam readings. Both of them proceeded systematically, so that future readers and hearers might take lessons from the example of the procedure of reciting Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Those who are under the control of the external energy of the Lord, or in other words, those who are in the material world, must first of all know how the external energy of the Lord is working under the direction of the Supreme Personality, and afterwards one may try to enter into the activities of His internal energy. The mundaners are mostly worshippers of Durga Devi, the external energy of Krishna, but they do not know that Durga Devi is but the shadow energy of the Lord. Behind her astonishing display of material workings is the direction of the Lord, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 9:10. The Brahma Samhita also confirms that the Durga Shakti is working by the direction of Govinda, and that without his sanction, the powerful Durga Shakti cannot move even a blade of grass. Therefore, the neophyte devotee, instead of jumping at once to the platform of the transcendental pastimes presented in the internal energy of the Lord, by the internal energy of the Lord. I'll say this again. Therefore, the neophyte devotee, instead of jumping at once to the platform of the transcendental pastimes presented by the internal energy of the Lord, may know how great the Supreme Lord is by inquiring about the process of His creative energy. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita also, descriptions of the creative energy and the Lord's hand are in it are explained, and the author of the Chaitanya Charitamrita has warned the neophyte devotees to be seriously on guard against the pitfall of neglecting knowledge about Krishna in regard to how great he is. Only when one knows Lord Krishna's greatness can one firmly put one's unflinching faith in him. Otherwise, like the common man, even the great leaders of men will mistake Lord Krishna for one of the many demigods, or a historical personality, or a myth only. The transcendental pastimes of the Lord in Vrindavan, or even at Dwaraka, are relishable for persons who have already qualified themselves in advanced spiritual techniques, and the common man may be able to attain to such a plane by the gradual process of service and inquiries, as we shall see in the behavior of Maharaj Parikshit. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. What a purport. Anyway, I wish my voice was better, because these were such nectarian purports. But hopefully something came through and you could understand the words. I mean, orally, not just intellectually or spiritually. Okay, we'll stop our reading there tonight. We'll start tomorrow night with text 7. And I'm just really waiting to give my voice a break by listening to the beautiful, melodious reflections of the assembled sages.
First is something from Rati Manjari.
Hey Rati, Haribol.
She says, Jai Guru Maharaj, the light of the Bhagavata.
Ah, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for those encouraging words.
And from Gopakanya Devi Dasi.
Yes, Gopakanya Devi Dasi.
Jai Maharaj, Hare Krishna. All
Hare
glories
Krishna.
to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Ho.
Thank you for delivering this great nectar as always. Jai Ho.
Jai Ho.
And from Raikanu Devi Dasi.
Raikano Devi Dasi. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Take care, Maharaj, please.
We are trying. Trying our best.
And from Radhananda Devi Dasi.
Radhananda, Hare Krishna.
Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my grateful and humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you again for your reading today. Your servant Radhananda Devi Dasi.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
And from Bhakti-Rupa.
Yes, Bhakti-Rupa.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for pouring the nectar into our ears. We heard that Maharaj Parikshit was able to give up his deep-rooted affection for material things on account of his wholehearted attraction for Krishna. After practicing bhakti for a little while, we begin to see that we have some pretty deeply rooted attraction to the material energy. It seems these things can be given up only when one is attracted to Krishna wholeheartedly. The fourth verse of the Shikshastakam comes to mind. O Lord of the universe, I do not desire material wealth, materialistic followers, a beautiful wife, or fruitive activities described in flowery language. All I want life after life is unmotivated devotional service to you. How can we sincerely pray like this, desiring only unmotivated devotional service?
Well, first of all, you can repeat these prayers with faith in the personalities that spoke them. And it's a gradual process for most people. In other words, it's not black and white. 1 minute you're like this, and the next minute you're fully, Krishna conscious and can give up everything. But there's a gradual process in proportion to how attracted you are to Krishna. To that proportion, you will be able to give up attachment for material things. But the proper way to do it is to dovetail those things in devotional service. We can't imitate personalities on the level of Maharaj Parikshit, who saw Krishna in the womb, as we just heard in one of the purports. And therefore, he was fully Krishna conscious from the very beginning, even before he came out of the mother's womb. So we can't imitate that level of complete attachment to Krishna. But we can, by hearing about Krishna regularly, and as been pointed out in the later verses we heard, systematically hear the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam regularly in the association of devotees, as we are doing. And gradually, by that process, our heart becomes cleansed. And I heard Gopi Purāṇa Prabhu today say how Krishna is in our heart, and therefore he is our guest, literally. Or maybe we're his guest. Anyway, we're the proprietor of this body, and he's the guest. And we're so ungrateful guests that we even leave our heart clean, dirty, so that he doesn't have a nice place, clean place to sit down. But when we start to hear sincerely, or we get even a little attracted to Krishna, even a little bit, then Krishna appreciates it so much that he takes out the broom himself and starts cleaning, because he's a perfect guest, as he is everything else. So this is the way to continue to serve the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam by hearing systematically and regularly, cover to cover, again and again and again. And by that circumstantial hearing, eventually we will get attached to Krishna, attracted to Krishna, then attached to Krishna, and we will fall in love with Krishna. But healthily, not unhealthily, by understanding first just how great he is. Then when he acts like an ordinary human boy and does all these funny things, we won't take him for granted. We won't lose track of who he is. And then our love and our affection and our wonderment at his beauty and his opulence and everything will become, what's the word? Covered by his sweetness, by a perception of his sweetness. Hare Krishna. So we shouldn't worry how I can do this or how I can do that. You just take the process, and it works, and Krishna will help you. Hare Krishna.
This is from Michelle Kwai.
Michelle?
Kwai.
Kwai. Michelle Kwai. Hare Krishna, Bhakti Michelle.
Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. It's so nice to listen to your readings every morning. Please take care.
Thank you. I'm doing my best.
And Bhakta Rupa says, thanks Maharaj, that was a lovely answer.
Well, thank you very much. I have a feeling that everyone's sensitive out there for my voice. There's not going to be so many reflections tonight. I thank you all so much for your patience and your undying enthusiasm for hearing Srila Prabhupada's books. You have something else? Okay. We've got someone else.
Something just came in from Bhakta Oliver.
Hey, Bhakta Oliver, Hare Krishna.
He says, thank you for the reading tonight, Maharaj. Today I heard, quote, devotional hearing of the messages of the Lord is not like hearing ordinary topics. Therefore the action will be felt by the sincere hearer, by experience of the gradual disappearance of ignorance.
Yes, and I think we're all experiencing it. Even if sometimes it gets covered over. But whenever we're together and we're hearing together, we are all feeling our knowledge increase.
He also quoted, "The crucial test of hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam
Yes.
is that one should get positive enlightenment by such an act."
Yes. And that's a fact. And even as one becomes more and more humble, as we get closer to Krishna by this hearing, and we may think that we're not qualified, still we understand gradually more and more and more. So we should never give up this process of hearing and chanting about Krishna. Especially hearing the Bhagavad Gita and the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita out loud together. And by the way, the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita BBT audiobook that we recorded is now on Audible, all 3 volumes. And it's on bbtmedia.com also. And I think it's on Apple Books and Amazon. It's everywhere. Hare Krishna. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. See you tomorrow night. Same time, same place, same topic, as we become enlightened on the creation of the universe by Krishna. See you tomorrow.